In the heart of a Nigerian village, there was a boy named Tobi. His eyes sparkled with mischief as he darted through the crowded marketplace, weaving between stalls bursting with vibrant fabrics and the rich aroma of spices. His skin, kissed by the sun, was the color of the dark earth that surrounded the village, and his smile could light up even the gloomiest of days. At 12 years old, Tobi had the world at his fingertips, or so he thought. His afternoons were spent in the dusty schoolyard, sharing laughter and secrets with his friends. One sweltering afternoon, after school, Tobi and his friends stumbled upon an old, abandoned house that had seen better days. Its once white paint was peeling away like the layers of a rotten onion, and the windows were cracked like the dry riverbeds outside the village. The whispers of curiosity grew louder as they pushed open the creaking door and stepped into the cool, musty interior. There, in a corner, lay a treasure trove of a stash of graphic VHS tapes, the likes of which they had never seen before. Their eyes widened with excitement as they gathered around the flickering television, eager to unravel the mysteries of the adult world. Tobi felt a strange stirring in his loins as the images played out before him. He watched, transfixed, as the men and women on the screen performed acts that seemed both fascinating and forbidden. His friends snickered and whispered, sharing their own nascent understandings of the scenes unfolding before them. They watched until the sun dipped low in the sky. The room bathed in the soft red light that filtered through the dusty windows. When Tobi returned home, his thoughts were still tangled in the web of the images he had seen. His mind was racing with confusion and excitement. He couldn't help but feel a dark about his younger sister, Enkay. She was only 9, her eyes as wide and innocent as the moon. As the evening shadows grew longer and the village grew quieter, Tobi found himself unable to resist the urges that had been planted in his mind by the videos. With a heart that felt both thrilled and heavy with guilt, he crept into her room while their parents were out. The room smelled faintly of her favorite jasmine soap, and her soft breathing was the only sound in the darkness. He approached her bed, his mind a tumult of conflicting emotions. Without fully understanding what he was doing, he with her, forever altering the fabric of their innocent relationship. The following days were a blur of fear and confusion for Enkay. She didn't dare tell anyone what had happened, the weight of her brother's actions pressing down on her like a suffocating blanket. Tobi, on the other hand, was torn between the sickening thrill of his newfound power and the crushing reality of what he had done. He avoided her eyes at the dinner table, his cheeks burning with shame every time she flinched at his touch. The secret could not be kept hidden for long, however. The villagers, ever vigilant and ever watchful, began to notice the stark change in Enkay's demeanor. Her laughter had dimmed, and she no longer played with the other children as she once had. Whispers grew into a murmur, and the murmur grew into a roar. Eventually, the truth spilled out, staining the village with its ugliness. The villagers gathered in the central square, their faces a mosaic of anger and disgust. The council of elders, their voices trembling with rage, condemned Tobi to the ultimate punishment, to be cast into the evil forest that loomed at the edge of the village. This place, shrouded in ancient superstition and tales of horror, was where the worst of their kind were sent to face their fate alone. It was a punishment that was both a banishment and a death sentence. As Tobi was dragged away, the ropes biting into his wrists, he could hear Enkay's quiet sobs. He wanted to apologize, to explain, but the words stuck in his throat, choking him. He looked into her eyes one last time, a silent plea for forgiveness hanging in the air between them. But all he saw was the betrayal and fear that reflected the monster he had become. The journey to the forest was a blur of jeers and thrown rocks. His heart hammered in his chest as he was pushed to the edge of the village, the threshold of the dark woods beckoning like a gaping mouth. He stumbled into the underbrush, the thorns and branches clawing at him as if the very forest knew the evil he bore. With every step, the darkness grew denser, the air thick with the scent of decay and the distant cries of unknown beasts. In the shadow of the first towering tree, Tobi felt a cold hand of dread grip his soul. The whispers of the wind spoke of vengeance and pain, echoes of the countless others who had been cast out before him. As the villagers' shouts faded into the distance, he was left alone with his thoughts and the crushing weight of his own guilt. The forest closed in around him, a prison of his own making. as he took his first tentative steps into a future fraught with terror and regret. Tobi stumbled through the dense foliage, his young mind reeling from the horror of his banishment. The forest, a place that had once held the allure of adventure and hidden secrets, had transformed into a labyrinth of fear and retribution. Every rustle in the leaves, every shadow that danced in the dappled moonlight, held the promise of an unspeakable fate. Yet amidst the terror, a strange sense of relief began to bloom in his chest. The villagers' anger was now behind him, their judging eyes no longer upon him. But the whispers of the forest, filled with the echoes of his sister's pain, were a constant, haunting reminder of his crimes. Days turned into nights, and nights into weeks, as Tobi navigated the treacherous landscape. He learned to survive off the land, his youthful strength and ingenuity serving him well. He built a shelter from branches and leaves, caught small animals for food, and drank from the crystal-clear streams that crisscrossed the forest floor. Yet, with each new dawn, he was faced with the stark reality of his isolation. The animals that once seemed like companions now held a cold, indifferent gaze, a stark contrast to the warmth of his sister's eyes. The embrace of the forest was a cold one, offering no comfort or solace for his tortured soul. One fateful evening, as he sat by his makeshift fire, a figure emerged from the shadows. A girl, not much older than he, with eyes that held the wisdom of the ancients and the sorrow of 1,000 lost souls. She was a spirit of the forest, a being of myth and legend, sent to either guide him to atonement or deliver the final punishment for his transgressions. Her name was Elle, and she spoke to him in a language that seemed to resonate within his very bones. She offered him a chance to right his wrongs, but the path would be fraught with danger and require a sacrifice he never could have imagined. With a heavy heart, Tobi accepted Elle's offer. The spirit led him deeper into the forest, where the trees grew taller and the air grew thick with the scent of ancient magic. They arrived at a clearing, in the center of which stood an ancient tree, its bark etched with symbols that told the story of the world's creation. Here, Elle explained, he would face trials that would test his courage, his strength, and his capacity for love. Only by passing these trials could he hope to find redemption and be granted the power to protect his sister from the shadows that haunted her. The first trial was to confront his own darkness. A mirrored pool, its waters as black as the night sky, reflected not his image but the twisted desires that had led him to commit such an unforgivable act. The reflection taunted him, whispering sweet nothings that threatened to pull him back into the abyss. But Tobi steeled himself, recognizing the monster for what it was, and vowed to destroy it. With a roar that shook the very earth, he plunged into the pool, wrestling with the darkness until it was no more. The trials grew increasingly difficult, pushing him to his limits and beyond. Each victory brought him closer to the possibility of redemption, each failure a stark reminder of the pain he had caused. Yet, Tobi persevered, driven by the love for Tenuke and the hope of a future where she could live free from fear and pain. As he progressed, the whispers of the forest grew louder, the voices of those who had suffered before him urging him on. They had been forgotten by the living world, but their spirits remained, bound to the earth by the weight of their unspoken truths. Tobi's journey became not just about his own salvation, but also about setting these lost souls free. The final trial was the most harrowing of all. Tobi had to face a creature that embodied all the fear and anger of the village, a beast of vengeance crafted from the very essence of their collective wrath. It was a battle of wills, a dance of pain and determination. As the creature loomed over him, its eyes burning with a fiery hate, Tobi felt the last vestiges of his innocence slipping away. But as he raised his makeshift weapon, he saw in the creature's eyes a reflection of his own fear and anger. And in that moment, he understood that to truly conquer the darkness, he must first conquer himself. With a strength born of love and regret, Tobi struck at the creature, not to kill but to free it from the burden it bore. The beast recoiled, and as the blows rained down upon it, the monstrous form began to shift and change. The furious flames in its eyes cooled, the snarl on its lips softened into a whimper. The creature, once a symbol of vengeance, now lay before him as a weeping child, lost and afraid. Tobi reached out, tentative at first, and wrapped his arms around the trembling form. The creature's power dissipated, and as it did, the forest spirits that had been bound to it were released, their whispers of anger giving way to a gentle lullaby of peace. Elle watched from the shadows, her eyes gleaming with a newfound respect for the young boy who had faced his demons and emerged a man. She spoke in a soft, melodic voice. "You have passed the final trial, Tobi. The darkness within you is vanquished, but the scars of your actions will never truly fade. You must now return to your village, to your sister, and face the consequences of your past with the strength of your newfound understanding." Tobi nodded solemnly, the weight of his new responsibility pressing down upon him like the dense canopy of the forest. He knew that the path ahead was fraught with peril, that the villagers might never truly forgive him, but he also knew that he could not change the past. Only by facing it and making amends could he hope to build a future where Enkay could find peace. With the spirits of the forest at his back, Tobi left the clearing and ventured towards the edge of the evil forest. The journey home was a silent one, each step echoing with the promise he had made to himself and to the lost souls he had encountered. The village lights grew brighter with each passing moment, a beacon of hope in the distance. As he emerged from the shadows of the trees, he took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. The villagers' eyes widened in shock and fear, but Tobi walked towards them with his head held high, ready to bear the weight of their scorn and to begin the long road to redemption. The elders called a meeting, their stern faces illuminated by the flickering torchlight. Tobi stood before them, his eyes never leaving the ground, his voice trembling as he recounted his trials in the forest. He spoke of the darkness he had confronted and the love he had discovered within himself. The council listened in silence, their hearts heavy with the gravity of his words. They knew that true change could not be forced but had to be earned. They decided that Tobi would not be killed but would instead live with his punishment, serving the village as a reminder of the consequences of such heinous acts. Enkay, now a year older, had grown quieter, her eyes haunted by the memories of that fateful night. When she saw Tobi, her body stiffened with fear, but she saw something different in him now. His eyes held a pain and a maturity that she had never seen before. Slowly, with the guidance of Elle, Tobi began to rebuild the bridge between them. He told her of his journey, of the lessons he had learned, and of the love that had brought him back. Enkay's heart was a fortress, but the walls began to crack, allowing the faintest glimmer of hope to shine through. The villagers watched, wary but hopeful, as Tobi worked tirelessly to atone for his sins. He built a sanctuary for the children, a place where they could play and learn without fear. He became a protector, using the skills he had honed in the forest to keep the village safe from harm. The whispers of his past remained, a constant reminder of the path he had walked. Yet, with each act of kindness, each gentle word, and every stolen smile from Enkay, the whispers grew fainter. The moral of Tobi's story became clear. Redemption is not given but earned through suffering, growth, and a never-ending commitment to making amends. In the quiet moments when the village slept and the forest whispered its secrets, Tobi would sit beside his sister. He would tell her tales of adventure and wonder, hoping to replace her nightmares with dreams of a brighter future. Enkay listened, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears, as she began to understand that the monster of her past was no more. In its place stood a brother, broken but determined to piece together the shattered remnants of their bond. It was a story of redemption, of a love that could conquer the darkest of nights. The village, though forever changed, slowly learned to accept Tobi once more. His dedication to their safety and the light he brought to Enkay's eyes softened their hearts. Yet, the scars of his actions remained, a stark reminder of the fragility of innocence and the power of forgiveness. The story of Tobi and Enkay became a lesson whispered to the children, a cautionary tale wrapped in the threads of love and regret. It served as a stark warning against the seduction of darkness and the importance of choosing the path of light, no matter the cost. As the years passed, the siblings grew closer, bound by a bond that had been forged in the fires of adversity. Tobi never forgot the evil he had once been, nor the forest that had taught him the true meaning of redemption. And Enkay, though her heart had been bruised, blossomed into a woman of strength and compassion, her resilience a testament to the human spirit. Together, they faced the world, a living embodiment of the hope that could rise from the ashes of despair. And in the whispers of the village, their tale became a beacon of healing, a reminder that even in the darkest of places, love could find a way to flourish.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.